I want to invite up our success panel. So Raika and Jody, and you will, when they touch, you will clap. Jody and Kim and Bobby Palmer and Rick. So come on up and join me up here on the stage of love. I made them a promise. Oh, this is really on the wrong spot, Wes. You're going to have to fix that. Okay. So, can you guys see me now? We can move this. You guys look amazing. Like success panel. All right. So I did promise you, what? You do look the best. I had a bridal shower and I invited Rick. I was like, it's weird, but like you're sort of one of my best girlfriends. So he was so great. So I promised you guys that the questions would be on there, but they're not right now. But do you guys trust me that I will ask you the questions? Okay. Because I'm so like literally word for word, so I promised it was there and it's not. Okay, so let's start with Jody Flynn. So Jody, you could tell them, name your business and your secret sauce. Mm-hmm. And would you just kind of describe what was your life like before the mastermind and what it's like now since you stepped up and invested in yourself and applied the REVUP system?
Awesome. So I'm going to try out my new secret sauce, which I'm totally in love with now. So my name is Jody Flynn. I am the owner of Luma Coaching, and what I do best is help wannabe leaders to create presence so that they stand out and are picked out of a crowd by senior leaders.
Love that.
Yeah. Thank you.
I love it.
Yeah, and I would say, quickly before I go into my answer, that's why it's always important to put yourself back into the process, because you're constantly growing and evolving as a coach. Like, you learn new things and you realize special skill sets that you have by doing the work and being in action. So that was my aha this weekend. Like, oh yeah, remember that? You have to keep putting yourself back. So I also experienced the funnel, as Kathy did, with Marnie. I started my business. I was kind of pushed gladly out of corporate back in September of 2010, and the universe conspired to allow me the opportunity to start my own coaching business. And I was clueless. I was blissfully ignorant of what it was going to take to have a successful business. And I had a niche that didn't make sense for me, but I was doing it, and I was gangbusters, and I was quickly going nowhere, right? And I started my business September 2010. It was in May of 2011. Rachel had become the IPEC Coach Community Leader, and she brought a woman named Marnie Batista on to talk about how she hit 6 figures within 18 months of her business. And I was like, holy shit, I've got to hear this interview. And I'm listening to this free call where Marnie's talking about what she did in the first year of her business that created this rockin' business. And here's another thing, we're gonna give a tip, but I'm gonna give you a bonus tip, because I was talking to Key after she was up here, and wasn't she amazing? Yeah. I watched this video, and it's something I use with my clients and in trainings by Simon Sinek, called How Great Leaders Inspire. And he talks about how people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And as coaches, you are your commodity. People don't buy what you do, they buy who you are as a coach. They want what you have. And when I was listening to that call, I was like, my God, I want what she has. Because she was so calm and confident, and she was like, oh yeah, I'll just tell you about what I did, no big deal, but and I was like, I want to be that calm and confident in my business, because at that point I felt like I was scrambling. But the call kind of ended, and it was done, and I was like, okay, so I think I know what I'm supposed to do. And up until that point, I was kind of like going it alone. I had my peer coach from IPEC, and we were going to coach each other, but she wasn't starting a business. Right? But we can all coach anybody on anything, right? I think it's kind of a myth myself, but so that July, I found myself lying on the living room floor on this hot day, feeling ice cold and defeated. Like I was lying on the living room floor because I was like, I'm gonna fail. I'm gonna fail. And I was terrified and I didn't know what to do. And this thought came into my head of, well, maybe I'll go back and get a full-time job. And bile rose to my throat. I had such a strong visceral reaction that I was like, that's not an option. So Jody, get the F off the floor and get back to work. And I did. But I still didn't have a clue. Like I wasn't gonna give up, but I still didn't know what to do. And then I got this email that Marnie was doing a program in the late fall. You know, the program that's not very expensive, that it was a 4-week teleclass and you can learn how to market yourself on Facebook. I was like, oh, I'll do that. And she was awesome. And she had a style about her, and I loved that. And then in the early spring, she was like, I've got this new program. I have a system to help coaches develop their business. It's called the Confident Coach Blueprint Program. And I waited till the last day before it started and registered, and then found out there was a shit ton of pre-work. And it kind of took off from there. I mean, I really hung back in that program. I'm kind of an observer. I need to get the lay of the land before I go at it. But what my MO is, I got really busy towards the end of the program, and I missed the last teleclasses. I didn't do the work. But she had announced there's a mastermind, and we're going to help you execute everything you learned in this program. And I was like, I tell myself someday I'll go back and finish everything. But I knew if I wasn't being held accountable, if I didn't stay in the conversation and in the community, that I would never go back and finish it. I would take what I had learned up until that point and execute that much. So I registered. I was the first one to register this time. And learned my secret, like honed my secret sauce, got 2 clients right away, and then I kind of was like, okay, this is good, and plateaued. Until someone in my community, in the Confident Coach Mastermind community, said, let's challenge each other. Let's be accountability partners for sales. I was like, yeah, that's really a great idea. She goes, great, how much money do you want to make next month, which was November. I was like, that's a really good question. I don't know. And I threw out $10,000. And she's like, awesome, what are you going to do to make $10,000? And I was like, I don't know. That's a really good question. Like, wow, these are questions I have to answer. So we quickly designed a program using the system, and I decided I was going to go out and do speaking engagements to sell it. And I only, my goal was to get like 20 people in this program, and I only got 6 people in the program, but I got 2 speaking engagements and 3 private clients, and I made $20,000 in December from those private clients. And then I made $15,000 in January. And that's when the mastermind was ending, and I was like, oh shit. I've mastered the local game. I can do speaking engagements. I can sell, to people. I know how to do this. I have not mastered online, and I don't know anyone else besides Marnie who has. So I've got to do this mastermind again. And I did the platinum the first time. I'm like, I've got to be diamond. I've got to be in her world. I have to have access to her. She's going to have to handhold me through this because I'm scared shitless for this. And so I went into the mastermind and eventually became one of the coaches in the program too. And so what's unfolded in my life is, and Marnie has something we do in the mastermind to help you avoid shiny object syndrome, right? And I've been using that to really focus on what makes me the most money in my business. And when I really kept using that over and over and over again, that's when I hit 6 figures. Stop doing the things that only make a little bit of money and focus on the things that make me a lot of money. And it was speaking and strategic partnerships to the point now where Marnie was saying, I was sharing last night, and this only came about May, that I have finally said, if you want to work with me, it's going to cost $10,000 because it's a journey. And I don't take people halfway. I don't. Not anymore. When I was a new coach, I would do it because I needed to build credibility, I needed testimonials, I needed buzz. So I was willing to make the sacrifice for that. I've got credibility. I've got buzz. I don't need to do that, and my clients don't need to do that anymore. So that was my before and after.
And so at lunch, we had a little success panel. We got to eat lunch, and I was telling you that like amazing things have happened since. So you actually were focusing on what makes you money. So you said no to a partnership.
Yep.
And so what happened yesterday?
Actually, it was this morning, right before the first break. I said I had like a couple months ago said no to a partnership. I was like, the time you want me to do, the travel you want me to do, it's just not worth it for me. I have another partnership who could provide me everything you're providing me, and they're local, and you know, it's a good deal. And they understood. And then I got a text right before the break this morning saying, from this gentleman, saying, can you give me a call when you get a chance? Texted him back, said, yeah, we're going on break in 15 minutes. I'll give you a call. So we had a talk, and all of my objections for working with this person, he had like removed all of it. And he upped the price, and he got me a gig that's gonna last a year. And it's gonna be worth like $20,000. I'm like, okay, we can work together. Yeah, and I'm probably doing the math wrong in my head. Yeah, about $25,000 for like a day workshop here and there. So it's just like, I was like, Marnie, holy shit, shit's coming together. and I've noticed like that happens when I'm in the game. It doesn't surprise me that I'm here and this is going on, because I find when I'm really engaged and I'm really active and I'm really focused on my business, stuff just starts happening.
So that's amazing. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Because Jody's the one who was like terrified to offer a coaching package for $1,500.
Yes.
So to hear her say, I don't work with you unless you pay me 10, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what's your tip?
My tip is, because I'm a lifelong learner, and I love learning, and I love knowledge, and I like, oh, I didn't know that before, but now I do. But if you don't execute, it's empty and it's meaningless. It doesn't make a difference how much you know if you're not putting it in action. So if I could go back and do something, it would be like executing every single day. Stop, like have my gremlin go sit in the sandbox and play and just do it. And I was listening to a podcast recently, and they had this quote. He kept saying it over and over again. I'm like, that's brilliant. And it was, when you knock on the door of opportunity, work answers. So it doesn't have to be hard work, but it's work. You've got to do the work.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you, Jody. That was very inspiring. So, Raika?
Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to say all these amazing things about you also, but could you tell everyone, you are amazing, could you tell everyone sort of what your life was like before and what happened since you stepped up and you did the work in the mastermind and you really invested in yourself and your business?
Absolutely. So I came to Marnie through IPIC. She was my PC leader, and I remember it was kind of like love at first sound. I just heard her voice and how comfortable she was when she was talking, and just, Marnie way. Oh, sorry. I'm not supporting enough. And I just knew I just want to work with her. I had no idea how, but I knew I want to work with her and I want her to be in my life. So after I finished IPEC, now mind you at that time, my fiance had left with a text message, and I had just turned to be this other voice type. I'm a professional opera singer after 15 years, so my world was spinning around, and also I was becoming a coach. So it was like, blah, nothing was steady in my life. So she was a dating coach. And I was like, I have no idea how she's going to help me, but I just know she wants to, I want her to be in my life. So I called her up, and I bought everything. I signed up for everything. Because at that time, because of, being an opera singer and going, being trained to create your own support group for years and years and years, I knew how to decipher between shiny objects and none. And when I talked to Marnie, I knew she's going to deliver. And I mean, above and beyond what I imagined for. So we started working, and then CCB came around. I signed up, and it was amazing. I got so much structure. And I really needed somebody to tell me about, teach me, literally, about the business. Because as an artist, you have no idea about business. I mean, the word business is scary. And also there is the stigma like, I'm an artist, I don't deal with business, So, but in the back of my mind, there is the starving artist mentality that they just shove it in our brains at school. And you have to feel really bad if you charge when you perform or do anything for your art. So I had a lot of limiting beliefs. And I remember when I met you, you said to me, what if you coach in your field? And I was like, absolutely not. I'm going to do anything but coaching artists. Because there's no money, right? I mean, that's what I thought. So I became a dating coach, or a relationship coach, a breakup or divorce recovery coach.
Yes.
Yeah. So I started, doing all of Marnie's program. I learned a lot. I mean, like a lot. But what I didn't think I'm going to get was confidence, on top of knowing how to make money, and clarity on my niche. I mean, I went in to really learn about the business, and I got all of that. But because as a byproduct, I became more confident and I became more clear on my niche, I started selling. I started selling like nobody's business. I mean, I was like, what's happening here? And that was huge. I mean, my life turned upside down. All of a sudden, I wasn't the starving artist anymore. I had people coming to me and saying, like, what do you do? How do you do this? And so anyway, I went from CCB, and just like Jody said, I was like, okay, this is done. What's next? What do I do with all this information? So I needed something to implement everything and really specific to me, not just a formula. And that's when I joined the mastermind. And I did it right away. And it was amazing because everything from how to write my sales talk, or the unique teaching
your workshop talk.
my workshop talks, and any and like sales, not sales, but secret sauce, packages, marketing, website. What do you need? What about the what are your free stuff that, or the how are you going to get people to be on your list? Everything I learned through that. And after a while, I decided I don't want to market for dating anymore, because I just don't like doing that. I love coaching dating, but I just don't want to do that. And I decided, okay, I guess I'm going to become a coach for artists, because that's my language. And if there's any tip that I would give you is, if you trust somebody that has walked her talk, which Marnie has, and that's something that really attracted me to her. It wasn't so much that I'm going to deliver this to you and I'm going to deliver that. It's that she had dating with dignity, and I was seeing how she implements what she is teaching. And that was very attractive to me. And if there's any tip is, don't resist your mentor. If she's seeing something that you have, instead of saying no, take a moment to think about it. Because fast forward, Marnie hired me to be one of her dating coaches, which is amazing and a blessing. So I don't have to market anymore. I can do what I love to do, working with women, helping them find love. But in the whole realm of creativity and artists, people started coming to me because I got my shit together through the CCB and the Mastermind program. And they invited me to come and talk for them. And now I have a business, Creating with Confidence. And I couldn't have done it if I didn't know the structure, because I was so clueless, man. I think I covered everything.
You covered it all.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Oh, forget about it.
Your secret sauce. Oh,
I
what's your
know.
secret sauce? What do you do for creating
Well,
with
I
confidence?
help artists get out of their own way and create their own definition of success so that they can take their talent to the next level and make money out of something that they're so passionate about and create confidently and freely, because that is so important when you get up on stage. That's what I do.
That's great. Thank you. Oh, and you got a boyfriend too.
And I did get a boyfriend in the middle of all that.
All right, Kim.
Hello, I'm Kim Pasulker. My company is Small Biz Big Breakthrough, and I'm the creator of the Get It Done system. And what I do best is I work with business owners who are tired of running in circles with the day-to-day operations of their business to create their roadmap to revenue so they can have the fun, flexible, and profitable business they envisioned on opening day. That's much different than what I had said when I first met Marnie, which is I coach women business owners, like I think moms, something. So I had originally, when I went to coach training school, I had convinced my husband to pay for it because I thought it would be a good bridge back to corporate because I had taken some time off. And when I finished, he's kind of like, I kind of get the feeling you're not going back, right? I'm like, no. And he's like, okay, well, you need to make money with this then. I just spent a lot of money on this coach training program. And I'm like, okay. So I, would try to sell coaching, which for me was really hard. I could sell. I had been in a sales business. I coached people in sales. And I could sell lotions and potions like nobody's business. But for me, I was like, yeah, we're going to coach together. It's, you can pay by the month. It's $4.95. And that was for 4 sessions. Yeah. And when I first met Marnie, she said, yeah, that will change. And I didn't have a system. I didn't have a process. I was trapped in what Marnie calls the intellectual pursuit of coaching. Anybody else download and buy lots of stuff? Yeah, right? Total inbox, no system, no process. And I remember before I met Marnie, I had already spent, I had just invested about 20 grand in another program. And I don't know how I got on her list. I have no idea. And I'd never heard of her before. And I would go to this call, but it was in the night because she's on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast, and I had a 5-year-old who was like, Mommy. So I listened to 10 minutes, and I heard her say intellectual pursuit of coaching. I was like, what? A dating what? I didn't get it. And I never listened to anything, and I went back and listened to the replay. The only replay I've ever listened to in my whole life, because I'm like, there's a name for my ailment. It's called IPC, and she has the cure. Awesome. And I remember when I talked to her, because I was just still a little I was telling my husband, he's like, a dating coach? What? I'm like, yeah, but she makes a lot of money. And he's like, okay. And then he's like, well, maybe you should be a dating coach. I'm like, yeah, we got married before there was online dating. I don't think I'm going to be very helpful. And so I talked to Marnie on the phone because I was like, well, I just spent 20 grand on this program, and I want to do this, which included private coaching. And I was like, of course, doing the math. I'm like, oh my God, I think that's $600 or $700 a session with you. And she's like, it is worth it. And I was like, holy crap. It is. I'm like, I want to say to somebody someday, it is worth it. It is worth it to pay that money to work with me. So I said, okay, I'm in. And worked with Marnie. I signed up for the mastermind because I knew, even though I had invested money in all these other programs, I got more in my first couple of weeks of working with Marnie than I did in a year. And became very clear about my niche, and it was no longer, coach mom, business owners. I became really clear. I coached business owners and what I coached them on, and created my system, and was able to really brand myself, so that everything flows. Right? So instead of blocks, I talk to my people about profitability roadblocks, right? So we can still kind of weave our branding into some of the stuff to remove the coachy words. And things started changing, and I started to realize like who I really wanted to work with. Marnie helped me reveal my distinction, because I'd be like, there's so many business coaches. How am I going to make any money? And I kind of realized like I had some things that were different, especially my corporate background. So my thing became, I work with business owners and I bring them Fortune 500 strategies so they can run their small and mid-sized businesses like big business CEOs and accelerate performance, productivity, and profits. And that got a lot more attention. And it started getting a lot of attention from the bigger companies too. And I started realizing who I really wanted to work with, and I created some things in my business where I was like, if business owner isn't already 6 figures, they're not my client. Because I want a certain person, the person I need to work with, they're about team, they're about process, they're about leverage. They're not about, I'm thinking about a company, and I still have my full-time job. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I was just very clear about who I wanted to work with through that. And one of the things I learned from Marnie is around content. And you've got to put your content out there, and you got to put yourself out there, no matter how uncomfortable it is. Because there would be times where I'd get off the phone with Marnie, and I'd be like, God, I hate her. she's so mean to me. Because she would be really hard. And that's what you need, right? You need your mentor or coach to kick your butt, right? You totally do. And a lot of times, we kind of work with our peer coaches and stuff who are really nice to us, but you need someone who's going to do that. And really put yourself out there. And so because I was so, had done the work around my avatar and what was important to them and what they were like, I was able to write great, good content. And now I write for the Huffington Post, small business vertical. My business has totally changed. I no longer charge $4.95 for a month. I calculated it out. Now if I calculated my hourly right now, it's like $500 or $600 an hour. So I'm like, wow, that's quite a difference. And I don't charge by the hour though. And I became really strategic about my business and creating alliances. So I created alliances with other coaches that I wanted to work with and start getting my feet into some bigger companies. I aligned with people like Marnie, working with Marnie for her brand. I recently started working. One of my gifts is helping people with implementation. Basically, I help people get their stuff done. And recently started working with 2 very successful, very big coaches in our industry to help them with implementation for people in their program.
You said at the lunch you made more. How much did you make in the 7 months of this year?
Okay, so so I have a very different year. I will just start out by saying in January, I fell twice, right? I had a concussion, I tore my shoulder, but I had a $16,000 month because I had all this stuff in place, even though I could only work 2 hours a day. And that, of course, fueled. And I had made a promise that this would be my 6-figure year, done deal, not a thing. So in the first 7 months of the year, I was able to close 6 figures this year. And,
so what's your tip?
so my tip is, struggle is overrated. And you're going to make the investment anyway, right? And I was like, I already made the investment before Marnie. I wish I had kept that money so I could, have a different investment. So we invest in our businesses, we have to. And so it's a matter of, are you going to do it ad hoc and just buy random programs and hope something gets implemented, something happens, or have a system and a process and people helping you in a community so that you get big results in your business.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. That's so exciting. Bobby Palmer representing the non-IPEC coaches in the white dress.
That's right. So, hi, I'm Bobby Palmer. I'm the founder of Date Like a Grown-Up at datelikeagrownup.com. I help women over 40 who are single and don't want to be anymore do what I did, which is find freaking fantastic and forever love after 40. And I met Marnie in a really interesting way. She was the dating coach that I wanted to be when I grew up. So when I finally left corporate, I tried like 4 different businesses before I stepped into dating coaching. And just the way I did that was somebody said to me, you got married for the first time at 47, and you've gone through this. why don't you teach people how to do that? Because that was my path. My previous life was training adults, adult learning. And I was like, no one does that for a living. Who can make money doing that? And then I saw Marnie, and I called her, and I said, I just want to, I was like really scared, because she can be really intimidating. And I was like, I just really want to tell you, I so admire your work, and I wanted to introduce myself. Now at that time, that was like really bold, which is a tip, by the way. Do something that scares you every single day, because that scared me and changed my freaking life. So we had a great conversation, and she said, I coach coaches. So at that time, where I was in my business was I'd been doing it for about a year. I had a few barters. I had one woman that found my homemade website and actually hired me for $1,500, which was amazing to me. And that was kind of about it. I was really struggling with how to monetize and how to make money. And I wasn't enjoying it. I mean, that was the thing too. The people that I was connecting with, I couldn't have conversations with them. I didn't know how to make any kind of real conversation about, not just about my business, but just to help them. I wasn't helping people. So Marnie and I actually did a VIP day. And in that day, that day, well, and the mastermind, but that day was absolutely life-changing for me. And in that day, I got my secret sauce. I got my 6-step Find Hope and Find Him system. And I learned that my niche was absolutely what I wanted to do, where I needed to be, and it was okay. It was okay to have this narrow niche, right? Because we're all so afraid of, but I won't have enough people. I won't have enough clients, right? Because I'm looking specifically at women over 40. And let me tell you, there's millions and millions and millions and millions of them, and they need our help. So that's one of the smartest things that I ever did, was listen to her about that. She gave me the confidence to do it. Just recently, I was actually asked by the Today Show to come on and be an expert on dating after 50. It was very cool. Thank you.
You were just on it. They did a package about her. She interviewed Hoda. They did a panel with her, and that you were on twice in the one day.
Yeah, I was. It was
awesome.
really cool.
I was really proud.
Yeah, it was really cool. And now I know how to monetize it, by the way. But the cool thing is, I just got an email one day in my inbox that said, "Hi, I'm a producer with the Today Show. Are you interested in doing a segment for us on dating after 50?" I mean, it was like that. Because of all the work I'd done leading up to it, and getting really clear about who I was talking to, who were my favorite clients, who were the women I really wanted to work with, and the ones that I knew I could help, and really making it very, very clear what I did, who I was, and really bringing my personality into it. And that's another thing Marnie really helped me with too. It was like, to be sort of plain vanilla just doesn't do it in this business. And whatever your personality is, I mean, we're all so different. That's a really important part to bring out. And in order to do that as a relatively new coach, you need somebody behind you going, yeah, you're good. I did. Just Marnie having confidence in me, looking at her success, was so inspiring. And when I was feeling like crap, kind of like when you outed me. When she was like, "Have you done this?" And I'd be like, "Well, no, I haven't done that, but I've done this." And look over there, something shiny. And Marnie would be like, "Look, do you want to be successful or don't you? Do you believe in yourself or don't you?" And I knew she believed in me. And I knew that if somebody with that experience and that success believed in me, then I damn well better too. And sometimes I needed that. So some of the things, I also did the mastermind, and a really amazing, wonderful part of that was meeting these women. Rick was in a mastermind after me. But we met, 3 years ago?
Yeah, 2012.
Wow. 2 years ago. And we're still, the experience of being with like-minded people who are going through the same struggles with you, but also having successes and being able to, it's like holding a mirror up to yourself. So you see people that are doing some of the stupid things you're doing, and you're like, damn, that's stupid. Maybe I'm doing that too, right? And it's really helpful. But then you also see all this great success of people that, because they're being brave, like they're being courageous, and it's like Jody said, they're just doing the work. because fear can really get in the way. I still have that after all these years sometimes. But being able to see other people doing that and having those successes is really inspirational. And you learn a ton from Marnie, but you learn a ton from the other people too. And friendships. I mean, we've been friends for, really, we keep in touch and we help each other with our businesses, and there's just really great relationships. So,
Did you give your tip?
have I answered your question?
You did. Did you
Okay,
give
good.
your tip?
No.
Okay,
Should
what's
I
your
do
tip?
that? Okay, so my tip is, I love what you said. What is it? Struggle isn't
Is
required.
overrated. Struggle is
Struggle
overrated.
is really overrated. And my tip is, find somebody who you trust, find somebody who's done or is doing what you want to do, and learn from them. And just make the investment, and it's not just money. I mean, it's time, and it's energy, and it's, emotional commitment. And don't do what I did. Don't spend, a year or two just kind of bumbling around and trying to make it work and spending a lot of money. Get help. Get help. This is a hard way to make a living. We talked about this at lunch. This is, you hear some of these gurus saying, you can make $1 million so easy. It's a tough way to make a living. It's really fun and it's really rewarding. But you need help. You need help. Hi.
Awesome. We're not doing questions right
She's
now, but
like,
if you ask a
what do I
question
do?
tonight, write it down. I'd
I'll be
love to
here.
hear it. Okay, well, later. That would be awesome. Because we're rowing.
Is that it?
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. Go, Rick.
Okay, so I'm on the panel to tell the truth. Marnie fucking sucks. She sucks at letting you off the hook. And she is the one straight woman other than my ex-wife who has pursued this gay man more than any other woman I know. Marnie and I met, for those of you who are IPEC coaches, Marnie and I met at one of the very last Mod 4s. And actually, as a gay man, I pursued her, so now I'm going to really screw up everybody's visions. And we had a conversation. And then the next thing I knew, Marnie was handing me some information. Hey, maybe you should try this. Now, I'm a guy who was a VP of marketing and branding for a software company. I should be able to do this shit. What I learned was Rick could run a lot of different directions, because in corporate America, in marketing, you run a lot of different directions because you're always marketing the next thing that comes along. What I can say of my girlfriend Marnie is, if I had my before and after of my brand, you would see a complete difference, because she helped me get solidly on message. She helped me toe the line. And I remember at the next Mod 4, we're sitting at the back of the room, kind of like Rachel and I have been, and we're having our little girlfriend chat while everybody's in this beautiful moment in IPEC. And she leans over to me and she goes, Rick, you just need to fucking own you're the coming out coach. I wanted to slap the shit out of her. This, she was telling me after 2 weeks earlier, I had gone on the Ricky Lake show as the coming out expert. And it was in that moment that the wheels really started to turn. A year ago, she slapped the shit out of me again and said, Rick, you need to fucking own you're the gay man's life coach. So my secret sauce is this, and I'm going to take it completely out of the gay realm and then back it up. I help people come alive to live their wildest dreams, loving deeply, working passionately, and living authentically, because everyone in this room has a fucking closet to come out of. Now, granted, it's taken me 4 years to get really solid here. And what does my future look like? I have 3 books in the works. 1 is complete. In the last week, I've had 2 book agents approach me. I have 2 publishers on my tail. I am on track to speak at an event next spring that will have 3,500 plus people in the audience. And I know who the hell I am. And I know who the hell I serve. And if I was going to give you one tip, leverage what you do best. I'm not a teleclass guy. And I'm not a guy who's going to sell from the stage. But how do I sell from the stage? I speak like nobody's business. And when I leave a room, those people want to know more. When I write, and I write for Huffington Post, I write for YourTango.com, I write for about 7 different blogs, I'm not getting these publishers chasing me because I ignored what I'm best at. I'm stepping in and I'm leveraging the things I am best at, and I don't shy away from them. If somebody asked me 5 minutes from now when I walk out that door, could you come next door and speak to our group? I'd walk in there and go, okay, let's kick some booty. Let's do it. Find what you do best. Do not shy away from it, and do not be afraid of it. Right now, I'm shaking in my boots because somebody is telling me, you're ready for $7,000 of speaking engagement. I have only made $1,500 of speaking engagement up to this point. I know I'm ready. I know I'm ready, but it's scary because this is where the up level shows up, and this is where your inner CEO has to step up to the game. Because I know if I can do this, I can start to get where I really want to go, which is 1.5 years from now, launching this really beautiful portal called Just Be You Revolution, where people can come to a community of like-minded individuals who have said, I'm ready to stop pretending, start living, and just be you. And because I came from those closet doors where that was so damn hard, and then I had beautiful people like every one of these gals helping me kick my own ass, I will make that happen in 2 years.
That's awesome. I love that. So, Rick, I'm going to ask you one more question because, you know, we're all, oh, you don't have your mic now. This is funny. Pass it back down. I want to talk about selling and money because you had the story about my guys are special, they won't pay. And if you could just take 30 more seconds and talk about how you overcame that gremlin and now you are charging your value.
So, because I came out of the closet late in life, one of the things us late in lifers face is we have families, most of us. We have kids, we have wives, and we're going to go through a big high-dollar thing called a divorce. So I've always had this soft spot for that man, my guys, my gals, they're going to be facing big financial stuff. So I never charged much for it, and I charged by the session. And then between Marnie and Julie Steelman, I learned to sell the journey. I launched my website 1.5 months ago, and I moved everything to packages where, yes, they still pay by the month, but they buy 3, 6, or 12-month packages. I have not had one person yet in that 1.5 months who has not bought one of those packages. And as we were sitting back here this morning, I had 2 guys send me emails. 2 of them went on the site and bought the True You process, which is the ELI, sight unseen, and said, I bought this because you said this is the first step, but I want to get started sooner rather than later. I have never even talked to these guys. And that was my gremlin. How can you buy from me if you haven't talked to me? So back to the messaging, it's all spot on. In fact, when that site launched, Marnie sent me a message saying, and she says this a lot, so sometimes it's like, yeah, you love everything, Marnie. But she really does love it because she's like, you've hit it. You've hit the home run.
Yeah.
And every person who has gone to that site and every guy and gal who has gone through that window says, your site speaks to me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, yeah,
Thank
but
you.
you live in San Francisco. You're surrounded by gay men, so.
That was awesome. Thank you, Rick. That was great. Are you guys inspired? Awesome. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You guys can give them a big hand. Take a bow.